All right, heroes, we're back. In the first video in this section on diversification, which again is getting completely thrown out and getting replaced with correlation. In the first part, we talked about why diversification is just a nothing burger and why it isn't really actionable. It can't really help you make money. Throughout the next video in the Google Sheet, we talked about how we actually find correlation, how you'll be able to find correlation, and what is so important, and how we can understand if a stock is not correlated to something else. Because remember, the goal of us as heroes is to have a lot of non-correlated positions, better than 50% chance of making money on those positions. So that's the goal. So again, it has nothing to do with sectors. It has nothing to do with the names of the stock. It has everything to do with their price movement. So we're in the Thinkorswim platform by TD Ameritrade. Again, this is in all my videos. If you really want to do this, if you really want to make money in the stock market for the rest of your life or however long you want to do it, you owe it to yourself to be using the best technology. I have used all the technologies out there, and Thinkorswim every single time is by far the best. So anyway, you've seen the Google Sheet. What you get in Thinkorswim is very similar. The only difference being you can only correlate stocks to one stock at a time, where in the Google Sheet you can correlate as many stocks as you want to each other. So you can do 10 at a time. Here you can only do once. And the way we're doing that, so I have a watch list over here. Doesn't matter the name. And I'm going to go over to this little anchor over here, and I'm going to customize. And you want to look up correlation. So we're going to get rid of it. We're going to click on this D here, and we want to do 200 days. So that's how many trading days are in a year. And we want to correlate to SPY, right? So the S&P 500 Index ETF, we want to do that just right here. So right there, SPY has a 1 correlation. So remember, and I'm going to say this a lot, I've said this in the videos before, I'm going to say this in the next video. Anytime we talk about correlation, I'm going to say this because it's so important. Anything close to 100% or 1 in terms of correlation is highly correlated. If we have one stock like SPY that we're already directionally long, we want to stay away from getting in the positions that would offer us a high correlation to SPY with the same directional bias. Because again, those are correlated to one another. If SPY goes up, the other one's going to go up. If SPY goes down, the other one's going to go down. So that's why it's critical. We want to have as many independent positions as we can, all with a high probability of success. So that's the goal here. So again, it's super important. So how do we find it nice and easy in the Thinkorswim platform? Well, one of the ways you could do it is right here in the watch list. So again, we have anything we put in here is going to be correlated to SPY or SPX, the SP 500, over the last year. So let's just start going at it. So let's say SPY QQQ, which again is the diamond, so that's the NASDAQ ETF, DIA, which is the Dow, IWM, which is the small caps. So look here. Remember, I've given this example probably before. I've shot so many videos, I don't really remember where it is that I put this, but I've given this example plenty of places. And I've given this example, and I will continue to give this example at other places. Over the last 200 trading days, what this says is QQQ, which again is the NASDAQ ETF, has traded with 96% correlation to SPY. The Dow has traded with a 99% correlation to the S&P, and the Russell has traded with an 85% correlation to the S&P. Now, remember, let's go back. Conventional wisdom with that D word, I don't want to say it, conventional wisdom with that D word says that, okay, the NASDAQ is made up of tech stocks. The Dow is made up of industrial stocks. IWM, the Russell, is made up of small cap stocks, right? Those are all different sectors. Thus, it's totally okay to have positions that are the same directional bias in those different stocks at the same time, because again, they're different sectors. Well, we're proving right now that that is just not the case at all. That is completely not the case. They moved together over the last 200 trading days with very high correlation. If one of these is going in one direction, we can bet that the rest are going in the same direction too. That doesn't spread out your risk. That doesn't go back to the motto of a lot of correlated positions that are independent from one another. So that's no good. So let's build a portfolio that is just right here using this platform. And again, there's a video before this, there's a video after this that shows on the Google Sheet. But let's build a portfolio. Let's say we're just buying stock with all this. Let's start naming names based off of our watch list that we might want to incorporate into this portfolio. Now remember, closer to 100% correlation is what we want to stay away from. Closer to negative 100% is what we want to stay away from. We want to be as close to zero, within up 50% or down 50%. That's where we want to be. So let's say we own shares in SPY, so we're long. So let's just start rifling off some names. Let's look at their correlation and let's see if we could or should also get long those names, but with the caveat of they can't be highly correlated to SPY because we want a lot of independent occurrences. So let's just start off. Let's go Tesla. So over the last 200 trading days, Tesla has moved with SPY 90% of the time. This is highly correlated to SPY. We do not want to have the same directional risk. So that is out. Let's do Twitter. So over the last 200 trading days, drum roll please, Twitter has a negative 0.1 correlation to SPY. This is something that we can absolutely do because this says, based off of the price movements of Twitter and SPY over the last year, they move very independently of one another. Remember, very close to zero is what we're looking for. Okay, let's look at Johnson & Johnson. Remember, Johnson & Johnson is an industrial company, but again, how does it move price? It moves 86% similar price movement to SPY. We are not interested in having the same directional risk in Johnson & Johnson as we are in SPY. Let's look at another one. Let's look at Snapchat. I don't know if we even get the numbers. It hasn't been out there long enough. Let's look at Facebook. Facebook also has an 89% correlation to SPY. Again, we want to stay away from anything over 50%, right? Again, because in this example, if we buy SPY and we buy Facebook, we know that if one is down, the other is down too. And that is too correlated for us. That's highly correlated. So we're going to get rid of that. Let's see USO, which is the ETF for oil. Let's see what that looks like. So negative 53. This is right around that plus 50% to negative 50% range. I would be a proponent of this because, again, this is quite independent. This is not that close to 1 and not that close to negative 100. So I would be a proponent of getting exposure to USO here because, again, based off the price movement, it is quite uncorrelated to SPY, thus very independent. SLV, this is the ETF for silver, negative 24% correlation. Again, this is perfect. We can absolutely add a position here, up or down, because, again, the price movement shows us that it's quite independent from the price movement of SPY. Let's keep going, guys. This is really, really important to hammer home. Let's see Netflix. Netflix has a 0.9 correlation to SPY. We do not want the same directional exposure with Netflix as we have with SPY. Let's go to Google, another popular stock that's on our watch list. Google has a 87% correlation. We don't want to have the same directional risk between Google and SPY. Let's look at some other stuff. Apple, again, 93% correlation. We do not want to have the same directional risk in SPY as we do in Apple. So you see, guys, it's really, really important. Remember, the goal for us as heroes, if you really want to make money in this game and you really want to do it hand over fist, day after day, week after week, month after month, you have to have a lot of uncorrelated positions, all with a better than 50% chance of making money. And this is a great way to vet it nice and quick. Let's keep going, guys. Let's stay at it. This is really, really important. Remember, we don't want to have the same exposure in all these other stocks to SPY. And what do we have on the board? Twitter, very little correlation. USO, not that much correlation. SLV, very little correlation. So this is so big. Let's see the US dollar, UUP. How does that look? So it looks like a negative 59% correlation. So I'm going to get rid of that. That's too much negative correlation for me. That's pretty sure that when one goes up, the other goes down. We don't really want that. We want completely independent from one another. So let's see. What are some other stocks? Man, I don't even follow that many stocks anymore. Let's see. What are some other stocks? AMAT, Applied Materials. What are we doing here? So AMAT, Applied Materials, moves with the price movement of SPY 94% of the time. We do not want the same directional risk. So you see, guys, we're getting rid of a lot of stuff, but this is going to save you so much money. You have no idea how much this is going to save you. When I look at a portfolio comprised of SPY, Twitter, USO, and silver, this pretty much says, if I look at SPY, I will also need to look at Twitter. I will also need to look at USO. I will also need to look at SLV because, again, those prices move completely independent from one another. If I had a portfolio of Facebook, of Apple, and SPY, I would only have to look at SPY to know exactly what Facebook and Apple are doing. So, again, that's why it's so crucial. If we have this portfolio, let me leave that up for a second. Sorry, I jumped the gun. If we have this portfolio, is half of the portfolio is highly correlated to SPY. So that's pretty much like saying half of the portfolio is in SPY. We don't want that, right? If we get rid of SPY and we get rid of Apple, now we're saying only a quarter of the portfolio is in SPY, and 75% of the portfolio is completely non-correlated, completely independent of the price movements of SPY. That's why it's so big. Let's think of another one here. What are some other stocks, guys? I'm drawing a blank. Let's look at Zillow, for example. Zillow, the real estate media company. So Zillow has a 71% correlation to SPY. Again, that is too high. We should not have the same directional risk. Let's think of some other stocks because we're really struggling here. What are some other stocks? Oh, FXI. I got it right here. So what is FXI? FXI is the large cap China, 82%. So again, FXI moves highly correlated with SPY, and it's totally okay. We're getting it off our list. We don't want that much exposure to one type of price movement. Let's see EWZ, which is the Brazil ETF. So EWZ has a 32% correlation to SPY. This is perfect. This is a very not correlated position. So now we started with a portfolio. So look at this here. Actually, this is a better way to explain it. So now if our portfolio is just in SPY, that means the price movements of SPY dictate 100% of our P&L. If we add Twitter, now the price movements of SPY only dictate half of the portfolio. What was the next one? USO. Because USO is not highly correlated to SPY, now only a third of our portfolio is allocated to the price movements of SPY. What was the next one we looked at? Jesus, I don't even remember. That's not good. UUP was the silver. There we go. So we added silver. Silver is not very correlated at all to SPY. So again, now only a quarter of the portfolio is allocated to the price movements of SPY. What was the last one we added right here? I'm drawing a blank, guys. Help me out. Let's see. What was the last one we just added? We just added... I don't even know. But again, let's see if we added Facebook. Because Facebook has an 89% correlation, it is highly correlated. So now 40%, or 2 out of the 5 stocks, so 40% of our portfolio is going to be allocated to price movements of SPY. So we want to get out of that. Jesus, I keep on forgetting the one that I just added. I'm trying to think of it. Oh, EWZ, so the Brazil ETF. The Brazil ETF has a 32% correlation. So now we have a portfolio of 5 stocks that are at least completely independent to SPY. So now only 20% of the price movements are 20% of the P&L is going to go to the price movements of SPY. So that's great. Let's keep on looking for some more. Let's see here. What else is there? What is Germany? I think it's EWG. Is EWG the Germany thing? Yeah, Germany shares. So EWG has a 92% correlation to SPY. So again, now we'll have, if we leave this in the portfolio, rather than having 20% of our portfolio based off of the price movements of SPY, because we're going to have 2 out of the 6 highly correlated to SPY, it's going to be a third, and we don't want that. So again, this is really key as you're building out your portfolios, you're building out your positions. We want as many non-correlated positions as possible that are small, that all give us a greater percent chance than 50% of making money. So that's big. So that's how you guys use correlation here. That's how you use correlation in Thinkorswim. But again, we're going to have a lot more about correlation in videos to come later on. It's all going to come home later on. So this is correlation, guys. Remember, correlation is pure price. It's not subjective. It's completely objective. It's completely data driven. It doesn't matter what the sector is. All that matters is price. All that matters is price. So again, all that matters is price, guys, and the way we find it is based off of correlation. I'll see you on the next video.